This year, every outer planet to outer planet transit aspect will include the planet Jupiter. Jupiter is considered the luckiest planet in the solar system. It is known as the Greater Benefic. Its positive influence tends to mitigate situations, even when the aspects are squares or oppositions. 2024 is also the year of a presidential election in the United States. According to recent polling of American citizens, one of the biggest concerns going into the 2024 election is the economy, especially with wages not keeping up with inflation. Let's explore how the transiting Jupiter may impact these and other issues in the U.S. As a planet of benevolence, Jupiter often signifies good news where it falls. At a high level, the mundane matters that Jupiter deals with include international financial and trade relations, laws and the court system, and religion and the clergy. Jupiter will make at least one major aspect with every outer planet during 2024 and will enter the sign of Gemini on May 25th. Of note, while Pluto is moving back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn during 2024, it will be in the air sign of Aquarius each time Jupiter makes an exact aspect with one of the outer planets. The most significant outer planet transit aspect in 2024 will be the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. Jupiter in Taurus conjunct Uranus in Taurus is the first of 3 generational planets to make a major aspect with Jupiter this year. The last Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus was on May 7, 1941. It was during this time that Europe was actively engaged in war with Germany. One fascinating Jupiter-Uranian experience occurred on May 9th, just 2 days later. The famous Enigma code was broken by Alan Turing, a noted computer scientist, and his team at Bletchley Park in England. British intelligence was able to crack the German spy codes after capturing an Enigma machine aboard a captured vessel. How Uranian is that? And the impact changed the history of the war. Very Jupiterian. A noted mundane astrologer, Charles Harvey, called Jupiter-Uranus the "thank the Lord" combination, in reference to its theme of unexpected grace. Jupiter and Uranus will be exactly conjunct in the Earth sign of Taurus at 21 degrees 50 minutes on April 20th. A Jupiter-Uranus conjunction occurs approximately every 14 years. So the last time the 2 outer planets were in conjunction was 2011 in the water sign of Pisces. The next conjunction will be in the water sign of Cancer in 2038. At a high level, Jupiter represents expansion, while Uranus represents a change or breakthrough. The Earth sign of Taurus brings the energies of stability, reliability, practicality, and materialism. From a geopolitical or mundane perspective, Jupiter deals with matters related to the 9th house, which it rules. This includes the legal system, foreign affairs, higher education and religious affairs, communications, and immigration. Uranus deals with matters related to its rulership of the 11th house, which includes politics, groups, election, and political systems such as socialism and communism. The Earth sign of Taurus deals with matters related to finances, assets of the people, wages, banking, the treasury, price stability, currencies, and capitalism. If you think about all the issues being discussed today, these are all matters that are on the radar. The big question is, how will it all play out? Especially with both planets in the stabilizing, practical, and grounded Earth energy of Taurus. So, from a transit perspective, these are the energies that we will be applying to the U.S. natal chart. This chart represents a biwheel with the U.S. natal chart on the inside and the April 20th Jupiter conjunct Uranus transit chart wrapped around the outside. A biwheel allows you to see how the transiting planets will energize portions of the natal chart. In this case, the chart representing the birth of the United States. You'll notice that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction occurs in the 5th house of the U.S. chart. The 5th house deals with matters such as the stock market, national pastimes, and gambling. But given the fact that Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus, a financially oriented Earth sign, the most likely 5th house matter would be the stock market. Neptune in Virgo falls in the 9th house of the U.S. natal chart. The 9th house in the U.S. chart deals with house matters such as the courts, foreign affairs, immigration, and inflation. Neptune deals with illusions and delusions, and in the Earth sign of Virgo will have a more practical, material nature. Looking through the lens of the U.S. economy, the positive trine between the U.S. Neptune and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction may drive gains in the stock market. One way to drive gains in the stock market is through inflation. Inflation is generated by increasing the money supply, which means printing more dollars and flooding them into the market, therefore stimulating the U.S. economy. The counter to this strategy is the opposition between the U.S. Neptune and the transiting Mars, which can indicate deceitful actions. Transiting Mars in Pisces is in the 3rd house, which deals primarily with the media and, less discussed, the printing of money. While the media has been telling the U.S. public that increasing the money supply by printing more dollars will not increase inflation, the U.S. inflation rate has been driven up dramatically during the past couple years. As this major conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus occurs, transiting Mars in Pisces will also sextile those two planets. This sextile allows the media to maintain the illusion of an improving U.S. economy. A strong economy is an important factor to American voters. The major downfall of this strategy is that our economy is being fueled by the national debt, currently over $34 trillion, or $267,000 per taxpayer. Jupiter in Taurus sextile Neptune in Pisces is the second of the 3 generational planets, making a major aspect with Jupiter in 2024. The last time we experienced a Jupiter-Neptune sextile was during 2020. It occurred 3 times that year. Jupiter was in the Earth sign of Capricorn, while Neptune was in the water sign of Pisces. 2020 was the year of a very turbulent presidential election in the U.S. and the outbreak of COVID. In both this Jupiter-Neptune sextile and the ones that occurred in 2020, Jupiter was in an Earth sign and Neptune was in a water sign. In both cases, Neptune was in the sign it ruled, Pisces. Matters associated with the planet Neptune include drugs and pharmaceuticals, oil, gas, petroleum, kerosene, and the oceans. For this Jupiter-Neptune sextile, Jupiter is in the Earth sign of Taurus and Neptune is finishing up its 13-year transit in the water sign of Pisces, with both planets at 29 degrees 31 minutes. We are again in the year of what may be another turbulent presidential election, and with Neptune involved, we continue to have matters in the areas of both medicine and energy production. Neptune in the 5th house has a financial flavor, and you may look at gains through speculation, currency, and the stock market. Jupiter is in Taurus. Taurian energies deal with the assets of the people and the U.S. financial systems, while Jupiter itself deals with the legal system, international trade, inflation, and manipulated economies. So the focus for this sextile seems to be more financial and likely indicates positive movement for the U.S. financial markets, especially the stock market. And hopefully the positive sextile with Jupiter will help us avoid some of the chaos we experienced in 2020. On May 23rd, transiting Jupiter in Taurus is in the 6th house of U.S. workers, which includes the military, labor unions, and the civil service. The positive trine with the U.S. Pluto in Capricorn falls in the 2nd house of the people's assets and wages. This trine bodes well for American workers, especially since Jupiter is conjunct Venus in Gemini, which is related to national resources and finances through bankers, financial institutions, and farming. Neptune in Pisces falls in the 3rd house of communications and media, which will bolster public opinion regarding the U.S. economy. This is a typical occurrence in advance of a major election, especially with the economy being a major issue. Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini from May 25th, 2024 until June 9th, 2025. So Jupiter will spend a little over a year in the sign of Gemini. My favorite description of Jupiter in Gemini is, "The truth shall set you free." These Jupiter-Gemini energies are all about information and data. Jupiter rules the 9th house, which is about higher level thinking and seeing the big picture, while Gemini is a 3rd house energy, which is all about the details. All areas of communications and media are factors in the sign of Gemini. But when you're trying to figure out what's going on, you need to be able to integrate all of those little details into the bigger picture to figure out what's really happening. Now, let's look at how Jupiter in Gemini affects the U.S. natal chart. We move into a grand trine in air, with transiting Jupiter and Venus, transiting Pluto, and the midheaven of the U.S. natal chart. The energy of a grand trine in air is centered on communication, ideas, and thought. The overall theme of the analysis is not dissimilar to the one from the Jupiter-Neptune sextile. It still deals with the economy and focuses on the U.S. worker in the 6th house. But the energetic shift is more intellectual and analytical in nature, rather than when Jupiter was in the Earth sign of Taurus. Transiting Pluto in the 2nd house is more dominant in this chart than the U.S. natal Pluto in the 2nd. The masses of people, their wages, and their overall financial status remains a primary focus. The air trine includes the U.S. midheaven, which deals with the public image of worldly success for the country. Jupiter in Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius, is the 3rd of the 3 generational planets making a major aspect with Jupiter in 2024. The last time we experienced a Jupiter-Pluto trine was during 2015 through 2016. It occurred 3 times during that period. Jupiter was in the Earth sign of Virgo, and Pluto was in the Earth sign of Capricorn. These energies were active during the run-up to the 2016 presidential election. Jupiter in Gemini is trine Pluto in Aquarius. At a high level, we're dealing with the expansion of communications to the masses and like-minded groups of people. With a positive aspect between the 2 planets, there will be an effort to understand the details. With Jupiter, the planet of abundance, growth, and expansion, recently moving into the sign of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, there is a significant influence on the world of media and communications. Pluto in Aquarius influences the masses and is favorably inclined towards new technology. The loss of interest in the mainstream media, especially with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, will continue to impact traditional channels. Just think of all the new internet-based communications platforms that have exploded during the past few years. Many people are now cutting the cord to their traditional cable companies and getting all of their information from non-traditional channels, especially social media. The aspects for the biwheel charts for the U.S. and Jupiter trine Pluto align with the same houses, so these energies all reinforce each other. The focus on the American worker and their wages continues to be stressed. Being that this is an election year, it is hopeful that both the industry and government will be able to begin addressing those needs. Drilling down a bit, Pluto deals with the masses and in the second house with their money, especially wages. Jupiter deals with growth and in the sixth house deals with the labor force. With both Jupiter and Pluto in air signs, the people will be expressing and communicating about their needs for growth in wages. The economy, again, proves to be a significant factor in the upcoming 2024 election. Frequently in mundane astrology, Jupiter and Saturn are associated with financial cycles. It works well for business, since Jupiter is about expansion or growth, and Saturn is about contraction or restrictions. Also, these planets move quickly enough that they are well suited with business cycles in general. Jupiter in Gemini will square Saturn in Pisces twice during 2024. The first time will be on August 19th. Jupiter in Gemini is in the fifth house of speculation, currency, and the stock market. Gemini is about information and communications. However, the square with Saturn in Pisces is in the second house of finances. Saturn will force previous excesses by Jupiter to be addressed. This indicates that there may be a potential bubble burst on previous gains made in the stock market. Please note, this is not financial advice. You must review your own portfolio to determine if any of your investments are more speculative in nature or have overinflated gains. Let's look at where transiting Jupiter and Saturn fall when mapped against the U.S. natal chart specifically. In the U.S. natal biwheel, Jupiter in Gemini is in the seventh house of international affairs. Jupiter in Gemini is about the U.S. making commitments to foreign partners in a very expansive way. However, the square with Saturn in Pisces in the third house indicates the delusion of communicating information in a truthful and accurate way to the American public. Remember, Pisces in a configuration like a square will deal with delusion or confusion, so most likely the media will restrict the flow of accurate information by either censoring the information that needs to be provided or conveying it in an inaccurate way. Thus, the excessive financial promises made to foreign partners may finally be communicated to the American public. The second square of Jupiter and Saturn in 2024 is on December 24th. This one occurs on Christmas Eve, after the November 5th presidential election. The U.S. is now dealing with the fallout from the results. This Jupiter-Saturn square has a slightly different feel than the one in August. Jupiter is in the 12th house. Jupiter in Gemini is about communicating detailed information widely. Remember my favorite saying about Jupiter in Gemini, the truth shall set you free. In this case, we're dealing with 12th house issues like subversion, conspiracies, and criminal activities. Jupiter is square Saturn in Pisces in the 9th house. Saturn deals with restrictions or limitations of 9th house matters, such as the legal system, the media, or manipulation of the money supply. The square between Saturn and Jupiter indicates the restriction of providing that information in a truthful and accurate way. Remember, Pisces deals with illusions and delusions. In the U.S. chart, the 10th house represents the office of the president, and it reflects upon the nation's status among other nations. Saturn in Libra is in the 10th trine, transiting Jupiter in Gemini in the 7th. Saturn is exalted in the air sign of Libra, which represents the scales of justice, balance, and diplomacy. Saturn represents the conservative side of society and governs justice, order, systems, and prudence. With the favorable trine between the U.S. Saturn and the transiting Jupiter, this aspect stabilizes, strengthens, promotes safety and thrift, indicating conservative actions and responsible attitudes. Since Jupiter is in the 7th house of foreign affairs, this bodes well for treaties, alliances, truces, and peace. The U.S. Sun in the 7th house of foreign affairs represents the President. It is positively trining the transiting Saturn in Pisces in the 3rd house. However, actions occurring on the world stage may not be readily apparent to Americans, since the transiting Saturn in Pisces in the 3rd house is squaring transiting Jupiter. Transiting Saturn falls in the house that rules all communication having to do with news or information conveyance, such as newspapers, radio, television, the post office, telephones, and the Internet. In Pisces, the energy will be nebulous and censored. The square between the transiting Saturn and Jupiter will restrict the flow of information and will likely lead to misinformation being conveyed to the public by the media. If you hoped that events would be calm and settle down this year, astrologically it doesn't appear to be the case. The year of Jupiter during another presidential election cycle will be a dynamic and eventful time. Thank you for watching. If you would like to be notified of future videos, please subscribe and click the notify bell icon so you'll know when new videos come out. If you enjoyed the video, please click on the thumbs up icon.